Welcome to the archives of legend and lore. I am the KIGM, and every week I will bring a monster, humanoid, aberration, or some other being to the gaming table and put it in the spotlight, so to say. We'll discuss some of the lore, the differences in additions, and possible ways to use them in your one-shotter campaign. For the month of October, we're looking at various monsters associated with movies and horror tales. I'm also releasing a module for Halloween titled Pagoria's Plight. It will be pay what you want or free for your enjoyment at the DM's Guild or Drive Thru RPG. I'll let you know when it's released. For the second installment of our October Chaos Fund, we will want hats to protect our brains as we bite into the topic of zombies. No, we don't feed them. Please keep all of your fleshy bits inside the car as we start story time. This week's story is the Town Altharid Built. I hope you enjoy. Something scraped across rock. No, not scraped. More like was being dragged across rock. Not quite rock, though. Cobblestone, maybe. Closing his eyes and stopping always helped Willie to gain focus and concentrate. Opening his eyes, he could see the ladder lean against the wall. Not that old, but abandoned, just like the rest of the city. Left by some other thief or rogue that tried to despoil the city of her goods. This wasn't a job like any other. The risks were huge, but so was the payoff. The cloaked man had paid him half up front. He could have almost lived like a lord for the rest of his life, just on that half. The rest, when he returned. He was given a black bag with runes sewn into it, with gold thread, and the string to close it was also gold. He could feel the strings of magic and see the glimmer of the runes. His job was simple. Get in the city, get to the center fountain, and in the top tier was an orb, a black orb that would suck your soul into its depths. He was not to look at it, not to touch it. He was only to use the bag and scoop it up and pull the strings closed. If he succeeded, the cloaked man would know and meet him outside the walls. It sounded like a simple and easy job, but this was no normal town. This was the town of the dead, a cursed place where nothing alive walked. Long before his time, it had a name. Lost forever. No, not lost. Forgotten. Erased. None would speak of it. None would venture to it. The trade path that used to cross in its center now veered far, far away. None wishing to even catch a glimpse of these cursed walls. Legend tells of a traveler, a man on a dark horse that rode through the lands. Wherever he stopped, death, decay, and corruption followed. Nothing was known about him, but it is said he came here, and within a few days' time, everything inside was dead. Well, that isn't exactly true. If something dies, you can bury it and you can move on. This town couldn't move on. It never died. It just ceased to live. Everything inside turned, was corrupted into mindless, undead things. Zombies. The people, animals, pests, everything turned. Perhaps in another place, maybe a little less dry climate, they all would have decayed away by now. But not here. No, here they just keep on going. The flesh is decayed, the soft tissue dried and desiccated, but the bones and tendons still hold things together. They shamble about, some seemingly doing routines they have done for eternity, some picking up what is left of tools, but not knowing what to do with them. And these are what Willie was hearing now, these abominations walking the streets. Well, this job wasn't going to do itself. It was dark out. The moon and stars the only thing illuminating the city. He thought it best to come at night, unsure if these things needed light to see, but hoping, just maybe, darkness might conceal him just a little more. Up the ladder he climbs, to the top of the wall, and to peer over to get his first glimpse of the cursed place. Almost instantly he sees what is making the noise. By what was left of the armor and the sword it was dragging, he thought it looked like it was once a guard, still walking the streets. It paid him no attention and turned down a side road. One of the big questions on Willie's mind was the structures inside. Would the roof and walls still be in good enough shape to support his weight? He hoped so. It would make the job a whole lot easier and quicker. The last person who used this ladder seemed to have had the same idea. The ladder came up right next to where the roof almost touched the wall. Wood shingles, not in the worst shape, but not in the best. He stood on top of the wall and took a gentle step towards the roof, testing its strength. It held, and he brought the other foot over, but as soon as his whole body was within the walls, he felt as if someone had punched him in the stomach. He doubled over, almost tumbling off the roof. and down to the street below. Reaching out, his hand found a grip on the windowsill. Willie steadied himself for a moment. The feeling mostly passed. What the hells was that, he thought. He pulled up his armor to check for marks. Nothing there. Writing it off as a deep dread because of this place, he made his way around to the front to see what the layout of the street would be. On the front wall, a rope was tied around the support pillar and ran across to what appeared to be an old blacksmith's building. Willie grabbed the rope and pulled hard. There was a normal give, but it seemed firm and strong. Well, someone came this way, so it looks like maybe it's a shortcut. But he had to remember, that person never made it back out. So somewhere along the way, he had slipped up. He would have to watch for that spot and not make the same mistake. Hopefully, the rope wasn't a bad choice, but it would save him so much time he had to chance it. Hand over hand, and a slide of the legs, over and over again. He didn't look down. He didn't hear anything. He just wanted to hurry and get this done. He was always of a slight build, dexterous and quick. He was given the nickname Willie the Weasel growing up because he could fit in anywhere and never got caught. He hoped his luck would hold out for this night, then he would never risk it again. At the other end, the rope was secured around the chimney of the forge. Odd. The person must have tied it, ran across the streets, and climbed up to tie it here. It must have been for a quick escape. He would have to remember that. Another rope went from this spot across a couple more single-story houses to another taller building. After giving in to test pole, Willie crawled onto it. He had to remember, this fellow never got to use this, so he would have to be on full guard. This time, he could hear several shambling things below him, but he never stopped and never looked down. That is, until he fell. About 3/4 away across, his joints seemed to stiffen up. Moving them was hard and painful. His grip loosened. He knew what was about to happen and turned and braced himself for the impact. He was like a cat, flipping into the air and landing on his feet, but when he made contact, his knee bent quickly and the joint made a loud popping noise. Pain shot through his knee and leg. His balance gave and he fell to the ground. Remembering where he was, he stifled a scream, laying there, whimpering. Through the pain, his mind kept telling him, get up, move, something will find you. Willie struggled to his feet. The knee was hurt, but he could still put some weight on it and limp to where the rope led. It looked to be a storefront. On the ground lay a metal pole. He didn't know what it was, but he knew what it was going to be now, a cane. He heard things moving inside, not in the they heard something way, just the same monotonous way something does when it has done it the same forever. Willie makes it around to the back of the building. He sees the next rope, but it is draped down from the building, laying on the street, and heads across to another building. That is when the smell hits him. A putrid, rotting smell, like liquid death. He almost vomits and moves back around the building to get away from the smell, but it seems to follow him. Tearing a piece of cloth off, he holds it up to his face, but the smell gets worse. Okay, he just needs to keep moving. A slow, limping pace is all he can muster to cross the street. The rope goes into some stables. He decides it'd be best not to go inside. Something got the other guy in there, so he had better give it a wide berth. Beside the stable, something moved. Something slowly crawls out into the light. It's missing its legs. The arms have been removed at the elbows, but the thing still crawls. It crawls towards Willie. He lets out a gasp and is taken back. On the belt, on this thing's waist, is a black bag. An all too familiar black bag, with gold rope and gold runes sewn into it. It must be the last unlucky fellow to take this job. The empty sockets look towards Willie. It almost seems to be sniffing the air, and then it turns and crawls a different way. Willie stays still, not understanding what he just saw, until another wave of nausea comes over him. He vomits. A thick black ichor spews from his mouth. It smells of death and decay. He must hurry. Time is running out, he thinks. Not sure what is going on, only knowing he must do what was tasked of him. He plods ahead. Just past the next building, he sees the fountain. The water runs from it and has a greenish glow to it. It's beautiful, he thinks. He stands there, staring at it, not able to take his eyes away. A figure walks out from behind the fountain. It has torn, rotted black robes on. Bony fingers and arms stick out from their depths. In one hand it carries a staff, a long, ebony staff, with a green jewel clutched in talons on top. Welcome, Willie. Welcome to my town. We are always glad to have visitors. Why not stay for a while? You're already starting to fit in. Now, wasn't there something you were looking for? Willie smiles. Teeth fall out from his mouth as he shakes his head yes. He drops the cane. It thuds to the ground with a bang that echoes throughout the city. He turns and shambles off, the last thought in his mind being, I have to find something. Find something. Find. Before we get started, I want to apologize again. My voice isn't quite up to par yet. Hopefully, this will pass soon. So please, just bear with me. In 2nd edition, zombies are mindless, animated corpses controlled by their creators. The condition of the corpse is not changed by the animating spell. If the body was missing a limb, the zombie created from it would be missing the same limb. Since it is difficult to get fresh bodies, most zombies are in bad shape, usually missing hair, flesh, and sometimes even bones. Whoa, could you see reanimating something that had no bones in it? That'd be crazy. This affects their moving, making it jerky and uneven. The rotting stench from a zombie might be noticeable up to 100 feet away, depending upon the condition of the body. Zombies can't talk, being mindless, but have been known to utter a low moan when unable to complete an assigned task. 5th edition Monstrous Manual has a great intro to zombies. From somewhere in the darkness, a gurgling moan is heard. A form lurches into view, dragging one foot as it raises bloated arms and broken hands. The zombie advances, driven to kill anyone too slow to escape its grasp. Magic infuses the remains of the dead, causing them to rise as zombies that do their creator's bidding without fear or hesitation. They move with a jerky, uneven gait, clad in the rotting apparel they wore when put to rest, and carrying the stench of decay. The flesh and bones of the formerly living creature can be imbued with a semblance of life. Some zombies rise spontaneously when dark magic saturates an area. A zombie retains no parts of its former self, its mind devoid of thought and imagination. A zombie left without orders simply stands in place and rots, unless something comes along that can kill, of course. They appear as they did in life, showing the wounds that killed them. However, the magic that creates these vile creatures often takes its time to run its course. Dead warriors might rise from the battlefield, eviscerated and bloated after days in the sun. The muddy cadaver of a peasant could claw its way out of the ground, riddled with maggots and worms. A zombie might wash ashore or rise from a marsh, swollen and reeking after weeks in the water. Pathfinder states that a zombie's only desire is to consume the living. Brains. Brains. Unthinking and ever-shambling harbingers of death, zombies stop only when they're destroyed. Among the living dead, zombies are most often used as fodder. To the front lines! Wearing down the defenses and consuming resources before more powerful undead arrive to deal the killing blow. Zombies cannot speak or really even think for themselves, but they can be commanded by other allied undead and powerful necromancers. This week's sponsor is, well, I'll be. It's an actual sponsor. I mean, kind of. He doesn't know I'm doing this, but here we go. Do you like old video games? Nintendo, Atari, Sega, just to name some of them. Do you like reviews and actual gameplay? Do you have nostalgia for old systems and graphics and music? Most important of all, do you love puns? I mean, no really. Do you really love puns? Then you need to check out my friend, Just Some Retro Gamer, on YouTube. He has a weekly game showcase, retro reviews, and more. Oh, and puns. He has lots and lots of puns. I'll put a link in the description to his page. If you watch one video, you'll want to watch them all. So check out Just Some Retro Gamer. Let's sidestep the combat for this month's series and jump into the steamy vat of chaos. It's time to gnaw on your brain for some great ideas in this week's Chaos Creative Corner. Scenario 1. A city, lost to the desert, long abandoned, lies waiting for someone to come and cleanse it, or loot it, from the foul corruption that it has befallen. No, don't look around. I'm talking about you and your adventuring group. Why, I oughta. A once thriving hub of the desert had a curse set upon it. The gates were closed and the walls reinforced. Everyone and everything inside was turned into zombies. Due to the dry desert air, they are decomposing very little and shuffle around the inside of the walls. Some seem to almost go about life the way they used to, going from house to business and even picking up tools, but not really doing anything with them. The items in the shops are still there, and unless perishable, intact and usable. The treasures are abundant. Why hasn't anyone swooped in and looted the place before, you might ask? Well, once someone enters, they start feeling the corruption seep into them, and they feel themselves start to change. If any normal people go in, they will most definitely become zombies themselves. Fortunate for the group, they were given amulets that will protect them. Well, for a short time, that is. What? Oh, who gave it to them? I don't know, Mr. DM. Your mom? You can come up with that part. Jeez, don't make me do all the work. The amulets have a mind flayer face inscribed on them. Side note, this is lore from one of my worlds. It is a mind flayer cleric that amassed great power and hid the item the adventurers need to find to cleanse the city. It is essentially an orb of corruption. Anything they come in the vicinity of will be corrupted. He has placed several orbs in different places around the world. Each orb will have different effects, powers, and ranges, but you only need to worry about this one. It corrupts the area of the city. The party must investigate the city while fending off hordes of zombies, zombie humanoids, zombie cats, zombie dogs, zombie mice, heck, maybe even little lizard zombies. In the center of the city lies a 3-tier fountain. Water still sits in each of the tiers and pours out from tier to tier. Is it a natural spring? Maybe just magic. Well, the water is green and foul-smelling. Inside the top tier rests the orb. Let's call it Altharid's orb. I know, listen to the story for more info. You can give them clues, like the city is a perfect circle, and only the city is affected. If the affected area is a sphere, then they just need to go to the center of the city. Maybe they can hear the running water. They still have to get through the zombies, and maybe there's something special guarding the fountain, a twisted, corrupted thing of nightmares. The party needs a holy item or something special to break the orb and end its corruption. Another side note, putting the orb in a bag of holding or something similar will also end the city's corruption. You might have a character of, well, let's just say, questionable alignment that would have use for it at a later date, or something along those lines. Maybe you found out by reading old scrolls and text about this orb. Don't forget, the city's loot. I might end up making this a module. If I do, I'll let you know first. Well, maybe my patrons will find out about it first. Scenario 2. The party happens upon an old witch deep within the woods. Somehow, they offend her. Somehow, with my group, that wouldn't be unbelievable. Actually, it'd be unbelievable if they didn't offend her. In her anger, she curses them, and the next day they wake up, they are all zombies. Only, they have all their memories and their abilities. They start decaying and losing appendages within the day. They need to find the old crone and beg her forgiveness. It would be a nice filler or one shot, maybe even something if someone from the normal party isn't there at the table that day. Scenario 3. A city has been having issues as of late with grave robbers. Fresh burials have been desecrated and the bodies taken. The townsfolk have kept watch and tried to stop the evildoer, but to no avail. The party members need to find out what is going on. Maybe one of them poses as a recently deceased and lets themselves be buried, or they find out some other way. But the culprit is an old man. Wow, that was kind of anticlimactic, wasn't it? Hey, but the old man is hideous. His face has been twisted somehow and is one of the most disturbing things the adventurers have ever seen. And that's saying a lot because at least my adventurers have seen and done some pretty disturbing things. He was once a mage, but had a horrible accident that causes disfigurement. He's stealing fresh bodies to raise them as zombies and orders them to be his friends. Wow, that's just sad, man. Oh well, better kill him and make sure he doesn't... Oh, what? I can hear your shock and dismay. I meant to say, you can befriend him and show him he doesn't need undead friends when he has live friends. There you go. Happy friggin' ending. Well, my typing hands are almost falling off. Being a zombie isn't all it's cracked up to be. I hope you enjoyed our shambling walk into the chaos sphere. If you did, think about giving me a review on your podcast platform of choice. If you're watching the video version of this, please like, and if you haven't already, why not subscribe? Also, I have just started a Patreon. I'm not going to say much about it. If you want to give a little, give a little. If not, I'm absolutely fine with that. I don't do this for the tips, I do this for the fun. I hope to have you over again next week so we can share brain space. And remember, if you are truly chaotic, your players will never know what you'll throw at them next.